Hey guys, I'm Chef Z and I am back with an all new video here on Made to Order a la Ordering. We are making sweet potato pie, which by the way is my all-time favorite dessert. So you just learned something new about me. Now comment down below, let me know what's your favorite pie. Is it apple pie? Is it pumpkin pie? Or is it my personal favorite, sweet potato pie? Let's go ahead and jump right into this video. We're going to kick things off by poking some holes into some sweet potatoes, and then we're also going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees because if you haven't already guessed, we're actually going to roast the sweet potatoes to make the filling to our pie. We're then going to wrap each of the sweet potatoes into some aluminum foil. Now this is totally optional. You can definitely boil the sweet potatoes instead. I definitely like to roast them first just because the natural sugars in the sweet potatoes caramelizes and really gives this dish a nice depth of flavor. So we're going to roast the sweet potatoes for about an hour to an hour and a half, and once it's all ready, we're then going to unwrap the sweet potatoes and we're going to peel them while they're still hot, which is very similar to how I peeled the sweet potatoes in my Dominican potato salad recipe. Be really careful when peeling these potatoes because of course you definitely don't want to get burned. Now if you opt to boil the sweet potatoes instead, I suggest that you peel the sweet potatoes but you keep them whole. Do not dice them if you're boiling them because then they'll boil and disintegrate into nothing. So when you keep them whole, they tend to hold their shape a little bit better. And once all of your sweet potatoes are peeled, we're now going to take a fork and we're going to mash them. Now, how much you mash your sweet potatoes is definitely up to you. Because I'm a huge sweet potato fanatic and I'm obsessed with sweet potatoes, I do like to keep my sweet potatoes a little bit on the lumpy side. We're now going to take some butter that is super soft and at room temperature, and we're going to add some regular sugar, some brown sugar, and some sweet condensed milk, which you guys know I just love baking with. Now, really important, whenever I'm making sweet potato pie, I do think it's important to mix together different types of sugars just because they caramelize at different temperatures and at different rates, and then all together they really form a really nice kind of complex melange of flavors. So I encourage you guys to at the very least try doing this whenever you make any kind of pie, like a pumpkin pie, even a sweet potato pie. Now we're going to make the custard for our sweet potato pie. So we're going to add some eggs, a little bit of brandy, which is totally optional, some vanilla extract, and some evaporated milk. Now, fun fact, because I love sweet potatoes, I do like my pie to be a little bit on the lumpy side, but I also like for it to be on the custardy side. If you like a thick and firm sweet potato pie, then I encourage you to add an extra egg and to cut back a little bit on how much evaporated milk you add. So now we're going to combine all this together and we're going to make our pie filling. And first we're going to add our butter and sugar mixture, and we're going to very carefully just fold it into our sweet potatoes. Like I mentioned before, I do like to work while my sweet potatoes are still warm because as you can see here, the butter just melts so beautifully into the sweet potatoes and it's going to change the texture just a little bit. So now we're going to season our sweet potato pie with some cinnamon, some cloves, and some freshly grated nutmeg. Now I love a sweet potato pie that is super cinnamony because I like for it to taste almost like candied yams, and my Dominican half definitely shines through whenever I'm making this dessert because Dominicans love them some cinnamon. But feel free to season this however you want. I know people who don't even add cinnamon to their sweet potato pie. Now we're going to add our custard mixture, and I like to add this in parts little by little because I do like to eyeball it. So I take a whisk and I very gently mix in that custard. So I don't want to break up those lumps because again, your girl loves her a lumpy sweet potato pie, but I also don't want my mixture to be too thick and I also don't want it to be too runny. Again, if you're one of those people that likes a much more firmer sweet potato pie, then I encourage you to add an extra egg and cut back on the amount of evaporated sugar that you add right here. So once we've mixed that all together, we're actually going to set that aside because I'm now going to have a little bit of fun in the pie crust. I'm using some store-bought pie crust because I didn't have time to make my own, and I cut them into like little leaf shape, and I pretty much just staggered them and I pasted them with a little bit of water. This is totally optional. I just think it's a fun and easy way of taking your pie to the next level. Now I'm using a pie crust that I've never used before, and the instructions said that I didn't have to blind bake it. Lies. Guys, whether you're making your own pie crust or using store-bought pie crust, definitely blind bake your pie crust and don't make the same mistake I made. So now it's time to fill our pie, and keep in mind that my recipe makes enough for 2 deep dish pies. Yes, it makes enough for 2 pies because listen, you cannot show up to a Friendsgiving or a Thanksgiving with just 1 pie. I mean, hello. That's just wrong, guys. But now that the pie is all nice and filled, I like to take just an off-angled spatula and smooth out the very top. This is totally optional, but because your girl is a perfectionist, I cannot see the tops of that just not be perfect. We're then going to take some egg and we're going to brush this egg wash on the sides of our pie crust because this is going to give our pie crust a really beautiful golden brown color. And just like in my pastelito de guayaba con queso video, you want to add just enough egg wash to coat the tops, but not so much that you have scrambled eggs on your pie crust. Listen guys, not only does it taste horrible, it just doesn't look pretty either. And now we're going to add some white sugar on the pie crust as well, because this is also going to help give it that beautiful brown color, and it's also going to give it some nice added sweetness. Because it's Thanksgiving, I do like to kind of fancy it up just a little bit and have fun with my pie crust. This is a really easy design, totally optional, so feel free to have some fun. We're now going to bake our pies, and I like to bake my pie at 350 degrees uncovered for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, do keep a really close eye on your pie, because if your pie crust starts to brown quicker than your pie is actually done, then feel free to reduce the temperature just a little bit or cover your pie crust with a little bit of aluminum foil. You know your pie is ready when you poke a toothpick kind of off center and it comes out clean. The center might still be a little bit gooey, but don't worry because as it cools, it's actually going to set. So there you have it, my recipe for some sweet potato pie. Happy Thanksgiving y buen provecho, guys.